like to share with you a little something about spiritualism. We draw this from Emma Hardinge's Modern American Spiritualism. And she writes that during the early experiences with those in the summer land, many were of the opinion that all who resided there were beneficial. This left them ignorant of those many who have been deemed the dark spirits. These were criminals, or perhaps career criminals would be a better description. Life in all its aspects is progress, and no one is subject to unnatural changes. Therefore, to suddenly be of one personality and then of another is, well, it's unnatural. It doesn't happen. And many of those visitors from the Summerland were still what we would call human, because these souls continued in the practices they engaged in beforehand, continuing their activities among the superstitious and the adherents of narrow doctrine. Those mediums who believed all residents of the Summerland were beneficial fell under their power in the form of obsession, meaning that they would follow their words, their thoughts, without question, implicitly. And there are many who are like that. And many who adopted a philosophical approach to their mediumship quickly realized there were many souls willing to exploit the vanity of others and pander to their superstitions. Any thoughts or comments?
Makes a lot of sense. You got like you guys say, if you got con men over here, you're gonna have con people over there. That's kind of a shame, because I thought once you transition, you just somehow elevate to another level of understanding, you know, they can become more Christ-like.
That's what we attribute to the souls in the soul realm. We call it a higher dimension, but all it is a different form of existence. Your vibration, your resonant frequency, all comes from your thoughts, your actions, your activities, your outlook, all of that. Your character is a good summarization. Your frequency is formed with your character. If you are a person of good character, then you are able to rise to a higher frequency. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. That's part of our lesson. But if you are one who is not of good character, you're still going to rise to a higher frequency. But that frequency, like everything else about being human, will be different from Beth's, from Ken's, from Sandy and Reverend Thomas's. It's got nothing to do with being good or bad, like a lot of people make the assumption. It all rests within that awareness and what you do with that awareness. Now this is can too easily transform into a lesson, so I'm going to stop. But are there any other comments or questions? All right, then. I want to thank you all for allowing me to share that little bit with you. But I was inspired to close out that sixth key. So we are going to draw from J.J. Hurtak's Book of Knowledge, the keys of Enoch. And I forget which verse this is, but as I read it to you, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce these bizarre, arcane words that he has included. But I will say that being Orion emanates the gnosis, the knowledge which creates the spiritual powers of the Christ. However, the pre-physical garment of light, which is needed to embody this higher light consciousness, comes from the Pleiades. The Pleiades also gives us the light garments of the negative mass, which shapes the physical spectrum of the many who are called. And between the two are the rational minds who derive their mental energy from the lower heavens and call power to themselves. They prevent, all right, now I got to get my stuff here. They prevent the physical realm from receiving the spiritual gnosis of Christ. So let's go back through this a little bit. So we have Orion being active energy, male energy, active energy, emanating knowledge. Or you have Orion being the teacher, giving the knowledge. Makes sense, yes? So what is learned, what we learn from these teachings creates the spiritual powers of Christ, of the Christ. And what is it that Christ taught us?
Love
To love
one another.
one another,
Be kind.
be kind. What else did he tell us?
That we are him.
Exactly.
We are like him.
We are like him? No, we are him.
We are him.
What is it that he said? These things that I do, so can you, and more. So what is learned from the teachings creates the spiritual powers of Christ, being healing, clairvoyance, mediumship, and a host of others. And the pre-physical garments of light needed to embody the higher light consciousness come from Pleiades. If Orion is active, then Pleiades is receptive.
The seven sisters.
Exactly, that were pursued by Orion. Very good. Now, the female represents the completed process. When we look at the Oriental representation of yin and yang, or yang and yin, it is initiation and completion. The mystery is in between. And that's what all this is about, the mystery. We are in the mystery of our lives because we don't know what's coming next. We think we do, but we don't know what's coming next. Our life was initiated with our birth, and it will be completed with our death in this realm. Because we will have received all that we can receive. Makes sense, yes? Now, do you remember the garments of negative mass? What is it that we are said to begin as all the time? Where do I reach to for the messages? Remember, when I stand here and I go to give you a message, I close my eyes and I gaze into
The realm of your potentiality.
exactly. That is the negative mass, the soul realm. Does this make sense so far? Do we all remember this?
Why can't you just say the soul realm?
Well, you'll find out when I get further into it.
It's like reading a Tom Clancy novel. It's like, get to the point.
Ah, get to the point. All right.
I'm not telling you that, but.
You're
His name,
not telling me that.
Mr. Enoch there.
Mr. Hurtak.
Mr. Hurtak.
Mr.
Get to the
Hurtak.
point. Right.
Get
for Ernest
to
into
the point.
Yes.
All right. Is that what you would like, Sandy and Reverend Thomas, for me to just get to the point?
Reverend Thomas is giggling.
All right. To the point. Between the physical realm and the light realm are rational minds. What are rational minds? Anybody?
You know, you keep bringing up things that keep triggering my thought process. I've been thinking about a lot of these things. You bring it up, and you know, it's like we're going on parallel trips here. Rational thought. I just wanted to ask a question: how far does mythology go? You know, we read mythology; it's in our culture, and I really wonder, where does mythology end and reality pick up? How can you know these things? Why don't I just say what I'm thinking about, which is, I looked at her and I felt this sensation in my heart, and it was profound. It was so profound, I went, what was that? Well, that had such an effect on me. It's changed my outlook, or it's changed what I would do, how I would handle this situation, when maybe I would have let it go before. But I always go back to that. Look, you had that experience, which has to mean, is this divine intervention? Does somebody know something I don't know? Or should I keep up with it, or should I forget about it? Well, it's Cupid's arrow. That's what I'm getting at. Roman mythology.
Oh, okay. Romance. And I talk around the bush a lot.
Well, you know, you brought up this. Yes, I'll hear Paul.
Of course.
And you know, and the reading you gave me, it was very pertinent. You see the black fat? See what I mean? The reading Reverend Philip gave me was very pertinent for this time. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. So the idea of mythology.
Yeah.
Mythology helps us to express the unexpressible. It's like when I gaze into the realm of potentiality for these readings, it's you know, I see all these images sometimes, and sometimes they're very quick and I get a glimpse. Sometimes they're there for a while. For instance, during the meditation, I'm here, I'm trying to absorb the pain that I'm experiencing, because when you draw that pain into you, it dissipates. And as it dissipates, I'm seeing this vista of something that is just indescribable. The only way I can describe it is to say a beach with trees that look like dandelions with the fuzzy stuff on them, only it's pink, and they look like weeping willows.
Cool.
That's mythology. It helps us to describe the indescribable. And even that is a poor example that I gave of what I experienced. So that's the role that mythology plays, is it helps us to express the unexpressible. But back to the rational minds, or mental energy, preventing the reception of gnosis, or spiritual energy. Rational minds. What are rational minds?
I don't know, I've run into so few. The thinking mind, any mind, it's, if it's not insane, it's rational. It makes sense, it's linear. A plus B equals C, 1 + 1 = 2.
The logical mind.
Logical mind.
So,
And whatever the logical mind doesn't make sense of, it kind of just has that shield. You know, so the spiritual, the supernatural, the unexplained, the mystery can't get through or permeates very little. Thank goodness for us who have these issues.
what is logical about mediumship?
It makes sense to those who have a spiritual bent.
Does it?
It makes sense to me.
Ah, okay. Well, it's a different type of logic.
I don't know, but I think people who are in his spirit circle are inclined to believe that when they get there. I don't think they're skeptics. They're in that mind bent, or can't think of the word I'm looking for. Somebody help me. Like-minded individuals. So,
And most of us like-minded individuals, we're just lost and don't care to admit to it.
we're lost.
Lost
Yeah,
and don't care to admit to it.
Well, we are, everybody else is too.
So we've got this spiritual information.
Hi, Luna.
We have the teachings of the Lords of Light, which are intended to move us into a refined state of being. Yes? Okay, so question. What prevents us from moving into a refined state of being?
Fear,
Okay, fear,
ignorance,
ignorance,
lack of knowledge. Let me say lack of knowledge.
lack
not
of knowledge,
Not ignorance.
lack of knowledge. Okay. How about you, Reverend Thomas? Any thoughts to add here?
Well, opening to potential comes to mind because the rational mind is going to solidify around the past. And reaching into the light is pure potential and can be very irrational. It can, because the real goodies out there are going to be beyond your level of understanding. So if you're not open to the possibilities, you're going to limit them. And the rational mind is good for locking us into a particular place, which is okay until we encounter change, and then we're tested again.
Okay. Any thoughts, Sandy?
I don't have anything specific. I find it pretty interesting. When I wrote down what prevents us from moving into the divine sense, but I didn't finish that. I didn't get it at the end. The last part of that. But I know Beth said a lack of understanding and fear and I think too is where you're at on your journey, on your path, whether you're ready, to take that leap. And it could be fear or lack of understanding, but I guess that's generally what, I was agreeing with Beth, what Beth was saying.